La- Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Open Dialogue, number one podcast based out of Utah Valley, a podcast dedicated to exploring religion, relationships, and reflections of the world and everything in between. Most importantly, promoting a no-filter discussion in an open space, safe space. I'm your host, Samson. Thank you for watching and listening and viewing and spending some time with me and the guest today. All right, let's get right into it. In fact, let me go ahead and give a guest intro. I think this guy needs like the best intro. And like I spent like quite a bit thinking of how to do it. Allow me to introduce the guest joining me today. I met Quincy White in the summer of 2022. Our mutual love of music, basketball, dance parties, and just having a good time led to a friendship that to this day allows me to call him one of my best friends. He currently works in sales over at White Knight Pest Control and was recently married last year in September. I was there. It was a great, phenomenal wedding. I have danced, laughed, gone viral, yelled, and lived with this man. Ladies and gentlemen, Quincy White. Dude, welcome, bro.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Dude, this is crazy. Like there's like it's that camera, that camera, that camera.
I know, I feel like you're
It's,
getting all the angles here. This is perfect.
I'm excited for this. Dude, thank you for spending some time with me today. Um, I have a podcast, man. I didn't think I would ever like get to this stage.
I know, I feel like it was maybe over a year ago when we went viral on TikTok
Hmm.
for the dating advice and stuff that I was super interested in starting a podcast with you and James Kozad, of course. But
Oh, we love James.
yeah.
James,
But
we
I
love
feel
you.
like it just kind of fell apart.
Yeah,
I started dating Hallie, and I left for the summer to
yeah,
sell. James moved out of Alpine, and he got married pretty
yeah,
quickly too. And I just
yeah,
feel like kind of everyone went their, separate ways. And so this is a huge opportunity,
yeah.
and I'm so glad we're making it happen right now.
Dude, I am excited. First of all, how are you? Like, how are you doing? Like, first of all, I hate this winter. The winter weather sucks.
Yeah.
Genuinely. Like, if you are not from Utah, you have to understand how bad the weather is, like, around this time. It's
Oh, for
terrible.
sure. Well, it's just interesting because I thought that we were gonna have, you know, not a wet or
Yeah,
like a wet and wintry weather
yeah.
this year, just because all of December I didn't even see any snow,
It's annoying.
And so now to have it all just coming down at once is pretty crazy.
Utah is bipolar.
It
It's
is.
annoying. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have two segments today. We're gonna have if you're on YouTube right now, you're watching us. But after this, we will have an audio only segment of the podcast, which you can tune into on Spotify, Apple Music, any major stream platform you have. But for right now, you get to experience and look at our beautiful faces.
That's right.
But Quincy, let's go back to summer of 2022. That was the first summer I met you. We did something that we like to call wedding crashing. How was that, man? Like, what was summer like? First summer that we were friends. Like, what was that like, man?
Well, I'll tell you, in high school I didn't have like a tight group of friends like the boys.
Yeah,
I never really knew what that was, and so I was serving as a service missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
yeah,
and I was introduced to you and McKay Nell and Nephi as
hmm,
well,
yeah.
and just a couple of awesome dudes, and it gave me like that brotherhood that I had always wanted and looked for. And so, for me to get to spend time with you guys, to get to hang out, we played a ton of basketball. And right towards the end of my mission, you guys had kind of brought up the idea of just going to a bunch of random weddings. And lo and behold, it'd be the best thing I ever did because that's how I met my wife, was crashing a wedding.
Crazy,
And so
crazy.
it was that first wedding where we crashed it.
Yeah,
Showed up. I think you were the only one that really knew who Ella
yeah.
and Braden
Hmm.
were. I don't even think you knew Braden.
I just knew Ella.
Yeah, and so I think, you barely knew her from just the office at Alpine Village.
Yeah.
And we all roll up. I didn't know anybody. I don't think McKay knew. And crashed this wedding, and my wife was a bridesmaid at that wedding. And we became
Beautiful
super good
story.
friends with her. And I mean, a couple months later, when I finished up my mission, we, started dating and then got married this just a couple months ago. So Crash a wedding if you want to meet your
Guys, if
wife,
you want to
guys.
meet your wife, crash a wedding. It's 100% true, dude. We had a lot of fun. I remember actually going to those weddings with you and McKay. I mean, Nephi was there sometimes, and just being there and being able to like dance and be silly and be young adults,
Yeah,
young
exactly.
men was one of like my most cherished summers. And I was like going to school. Like
Hmm.
I've been going to school every summer, but like I remember that being like, yo, those are like key memories. Like those are
Right.
what make or break like friendships and just help you
Absolutely.
build them.
I feel like we're so close
Yeah,
because of that summer. You
yeah.
know, even if we're like apart for a couple weeks and stuff, we always come back together
Hmm.
and feel like we can talk about anything because of the time that we had.
It's amazing. It's sick. Speaking about dancing and going viral, this video, I'm gonna put it up there, but this video, I look so young in this video for one. And we look ridiculously young.
Really?
But this was the video where I believe the original video got 1.2 million likes on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
And I said maybe 2 words.
Oh yeah.
Or just in the background, James went off. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. I got the unlimited comments of I didn't know Josh Allen was here. I didn't know Josh Allen went to BYU. Is that Josh Allen?
That's
Discount Josh
crazy.
Allen. Which
Yeah,
funny enough, when I was at the gym earlier today, this guy asked me if he was using like the squat rack,
yeah.
if I was using it, and I turned and looked at him, and he looked at me like a startle on his face, and I was like, no, no, I'm not using it. It's okay, you can use it. And he taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around again. He's like, dude, have you been told you look like Josh Allen? And I was like, man, it's been a couple
I want
months
to get
since
a
I heard
side
that.
by side of Quincy and Josh
Just
Allen.
put it up right here
Let
next to
me
me.
know in the comments. Is this Josh Allen 2.0? It has to
Maybe
be, right?
lead the
The-
Bills to the Super Bowl right here.
That's crazy. Speaking of which, go Bills. Go Buffalo Bills. I don't follow a lot of football, but like,
Man, I don't know. As much as I'm called his doppelganger, I'm a big Cowboys guy, so you might get a lot of
how
hate
about
on
them
this.
Cowboys?
That's right.
That's awesome, man. Okay, well, you were just recently married.
Hmm.
Okay, married in September. I've got to kind of like speak on the main part of this like video portion of the podcast. I really want to focus on these two questions. We'll go one by one, okay? Quincy, I want to know what is your opinion as a newlywed? We're in Utah Valley. There's a lot of couples, there's a lot of people getting married young. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. That's not a good thing. I don't have any opinion on it. I'm still single. But what, in your opinion, as the newlywed, is the best way to find the one? Like in the today's modern society where it's all social media, like what would you say is the best way to find the one? Like you found the one.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic question. Um, I always thought that I'd marry someone from like my high school or someone
Mhm.
I knew for, my whole life, just so I could have like a cool story to tell.
Yeah.
And I definitely lucked out. I think I have the coolest story of how I met my wife. But I would say that, us as, you know, young men living here in Provo, there's a lot of good looking dudes, and there's a lot of competition. And so I'd say like the number one thing that a person could do is just get themselves out there. Start going to fun events, go to everything that has to do with your ward, your buddies, and the more that you are being social and you're out there, the more confident you'll appear. It doesn't even mean you have to be, douchey or rude to people or act like you're better than others.
Sure.
But I would say the number one thing is go to everything and not even necessarily try to date every single person that's there, but just become their friend.
Yeah.
Try to build some wholesome moments and connect with those people emotionally, and I feel like that is how you'll be able to meet the one. Because I've dated quite a few girls
Yeah.
before, and the one thing that was different between me and Hallie than other people I dated was that I was her friend first.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of forced to because I was
Hmm.
still a service missionary, and but the fact that I couldn't have that physical relationship with her, but I
Yeah.
just had to have it be emotional, was the number one thing that propelled us forward and why I was able to realize that this really is the one. And she thought, I mean, I got lucky. She thought this is about me too. So,
For sure, dude. I think like I completely agree because I feel like in my like I haven't completely like I'm not there where I feel like I found the one. I'm
right,
working on it.
for sure.
I'd like to think I'm working on it. And but like I have dated girls previously,
Right.
and like I even remember, like my last relationship, you were well aware of.
For sure.
We completely started out as strangers
Right.
who were just in the same class, and then by just hanging out with each other and just doing very like I don't want to call them like non-romantic. I think that's what it's like, non-romantic things.
Right.
Just doing homework or just like being around while we're studying because we're all students. And so it's
Right.
like I think that that is so true when you are able to take out that pressure of, oh my goodness, I have to be like this hopeless romantic and I have to like impress them with amazing dates right off the bat and just like focus on, hey, let me just be their friend and try to. I found that that works most of the time, I would say.
100%. 100% of the time. And I mean, I would just agree. I mean, just go off of what you just said is you're saying that your last relationship, despite it falling apart,
Yeah,
was so strongly rooted in the fact that
100%.
you just talked to each other
Yeah,
and you were around each other. And I would even say, like, in your classes or at church and stuff, just be nice. Be nice to everybody. Like, say hello. You never know how that's going to impact someone's day. And girls nowadays, I know in high school, they didn't like the nice guy. It seemed like they liked the guys that were a little more rude and stuff. But
I can fix them.
it seems to me that nowadays here in college, especially if a girl comes home from a mission or if she's been going to BYU, UVU, or even anywhere, any other college, it seems to me that they end up falling really hard for the guy that's really nice and that's just taking care of himself
Yeah.
and goes out of his way to serve other people. And that seems to be the time when you find the one you're looking for.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. I think that the one is gonna be probably in the place you least expect to find it.
Oh,
Like, I
absolutely.
think it's just like it's not who you're looking for, it's not where you're looking, it's not even like how you're looking. It
Right.
just happens.
Well, think about me, right? Do you really think I was gonna find my wife at a wedding that we crashed?
No shot.
No way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. I like those perspectives a lot. And the second like question should be much shorter, I guess. One is just based on the fact that okay, you've now gone through the process. You've courted, you've dated, you've been in a relationship, and then
Right.
you've been engaged and married.
Yeah.
What is the best way? I guess we don't want to like put it for other people, but for you, what has been the best way for you to date? Like, what should dating look like?
I'd say, not jumping into a relationship super fast.
Yeah.
That was something I really decided to take my time on because I had just gotten broken up with
Mhm.
pretty severely.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, met Hallie, which was
Mhm.
awesome. And so I personally wasn't in any position to, you know, get into a relationship right then and
Yeah.
there. But for me, it was, you know, doing a lot of self reflection and being like, okay, well, now that I've finished my mission and, as I'm dating, I want to get married. What type of person do I want to be? What type of man would I want my wife, to be in love with? Or what type of man would I want my kids to look up to? And obviously, I haven't perfected it yet.
Yeah.
But as I put these goals in place and, had this quota of what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, it kind of catapulted me forward and gave me a sense of confidence to date someone as beautiful as my wife
Yeah.
and to help me just, pursue the passions in my life that I otherwise wouldn't have if I didn't have that confidence. And so, did that really answer the
Yeah,
question?
no, no, for sure. I think I mean there's not a given set way to answer that question in all honesty. I think that it but I do really, really connect with the fact of taking your time.
For sure.
And I love that you said your time, not like your buddy's time or your parents' timing or whatever,
Right.
like your time, which your time for some people can be quicker than
Absolutely.
others. Yeah.
I mean, we have a buddy who met his girlfriend in like October, and
Yeah.
then they got engaged. Or I'm sorry, September, and then they got engaged in December.
Yeah.
And I feel like that timing for him because of his past and the things that he's gone through,
Yeah.
he knew what he was looking for.
Hmm.
Because of past experiences,
Yeah.
and he knows that that's what's gonna make him the happiest, and I'm so happy for him, and I can't wait for his wedding. And whereas with me, I just feel like, I took a good, like, 2 or 3 months to really decide if I even wanted to be official with my wife, which lucky me, she didn't leave. 'Cause that was a long time to wait.
Man, that's true.
And but then we dated for a good, 6, 7 months. After those 3 months of just really being friends and talking. And so might seem like a short time for the rest of the world, but I mean in Provo, that's actually quite a while. And
Dude, that's
then
a century in Provo.
I mean I was engaged for another 5 months
Yeah,
after that because of doing summer sales, door-to-door
yeah.
sales. And so, I mean, we were together and friends and around each other for a really long time, compared to Provo. But obviously, the rest of the world, I have a couple buddies that are still dating their girlfriend, and they've been together for 4 or 5 years, and much different life outside of Utah.
And
That's for
that is
sure.
okay.
Yeah, and that is
That
all
is
right.
completely fine. Yeah.
It's their timeline.
Well, okay. So you've mentioned before, and kind of want to wrap this video segment up for this one, but I really, before we do, want to touch on this point. For those, I assume most are familiar. An LDS mission for boys is 2 years, and these young men are called, set apart to go to somewhere in the world and teach the gospel for 2 years, basically. So, Quincy, I want to ask you, what from your mission, because I really want to link what your religion and your spirituality has made you. And
Mhm.
so, what would you say helped you the most on your mission in order to become it, I guess, the husband and boyfriend that you were and husband that you are today?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'll kind of give you a synopsis of my mission as fast as I can because I know you want to wrap up the
Yeah,
video
yeah,
part. But obviously, I was called in 2020,
yeah. Hmm.
May of 2020, and everyone knows what was happening in the world in their lives at that
Yeah.
time. And I was called to Fukuoka, Japan, on my mission. And so I started MTC in September, kind of the middle to end of September, and about it was 9 weeks of home MTC learning Japanese. So really, really
Wow.
long. And about 6 weeks, 5, 6 weeks in,
Hmm.
I got a call from my stake president saying I was reassigned to New York City, which
Wow.
super awesome because that's where my mom served her mission.
Yeah.
So that's really fun that we got to share that. We were both sobbing in our house, just so excited that we got to share a mission. So I mean, I went out there. I had been in the MTC for like 2 months.
Yeah.
I got to New York City, and think about 2 or 3 months in, I started getting, like, these chronic migraines. Every single day I'd wake up and I was so sick, like, to the point where I'd throw up on the street if I was
Oh my goodness.
walking, getting up in the middle of the night, throwing up, not being able to sleep because I had just these chronic migraines. So I was in New York for about 11 months, so about half my mission was spent proselyting, and then I came back and I started talking to my stake president, started talking to, doctors
Yeah.
and chiropractors and doing all these random things trying to figure out what the problem was. I was doing acupuncture, took like allergy tests, figured
Jeez,
out all
dude.
this stuff, and I was praying because I was like, I was supposed to be on my mission for 2 years, and I love the Lord and I want to help and I want to take care of God's children and share the message of peace and joy. And it just wasn't in the cards at that time
Mm.
to continue proselyting. And so as I was praying, I heard of something called a service mission.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super cool. Like the coolest thing that someone could possibly do, especially if health or restrictions didn't allow them to complete their mission or even go in the first place.
100%.
And so I prayed and it took me about a day. And I knew for a fact that if I wanted to serve, that was exactly where I needed to be.
That's awesome, man.
And thankfully, it led me to all of you guys
Yeah.
as my friends and obviously meeting my wife too and creating lasting relationships with people because I was here. But the main thing is, as a service missionary, I was able to be a part of something unique and kind of blaze the trail for people that if they did come home, it seemed like it was something normal. Because to me, I didn't feel like it was something normal. It was
Hmm.
more normal to either go back out or just stop at wherever you were at and continue life, which are all great options. And I don't want to degrade any of those options, but I didn't ever hear of anybody trying to do a service mission if they came home a little earlier than expected. And the thing I learned most is that as service missionaries, you're the hands of the Lord.
Yeah.
And as proselyting missionaries, you're the words of the Lord or the mouth of the Lord. which was pretty amazing to hear. That was pretty awesome to hear.
That was some wisdom right there. Okay, okay.
Yeah, it was one of the coolest things because I mean, even myself, Satan would do things like, "Oh, you're not good enough. You know, you're not teaching people. Your mission's less than other people." And to me, I'd encourage everybody to serve a mission,
100%.
especially if they have the capacity to do a proselyting or service mission, because both will change your life for the rest of your life.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would say, I guess, to answer your question, I did a really long story there, but to answer your question, what I feel like has helped me and shaped me is that I can have compassion on people if their life hasn't gone the way that they had intentionally planned. And it's helped me that if anything that goes wrong inside my life decides to, punch me in the face, or it's kind of has a little bump in the road, that I'm able to just keep going and trust that my Heavenly Father has a plan for me. And that as long as I'm doing the things I'm supposed to, and I'm choosing to put good things into my life and do things that are going to influence and help others, that it'll be okay. And if I have to change paths or change careers, or if I have something extreme happen like divorce, or if I lose a child, that I know God has my best interest at heart, despite all the bad things that might happen to me.
That's awesome. That is great. I absolutely love that. And in fact, I've been kind of taking notes over here. I swear every time I talk to you, I just learn something. And but that's awesome. And I think that is a great way to summarize it. I served I proselyte. I didn't have the chance to serve a service mission, but I served a proselyting mission with service missionaries.
Oh, nice.
And we can't do, I mean, like the service missionaries were generally the older couples,
Right.
but like we can't do what we do as missionaries without everyone
For
being
sure.
involved 100%. And
Absolutely.
so I think the greatest thing that one can do is, like you said, being able to blaze a new trail and realize that, like, sure, your purpose isn't the same as the person next to you, but you
Absolutely.
have a purpose and you still need to get it done. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah,
Um, and
that's awesome.
so, yeah, I just want to go ahead and close this video portion out. Thank you for stopping by YouTube and checking us out and staying with us, our beautiful faces. But the podcast is not over. We will continue going on the podcast. And if you're on Spotify or any major streaming platform, you'll be able to hear the rest of the episode. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the other side.
Thank you, YouTube.